Chris Clark. Welcome back to my channel. I hope that everybody had a great Christmas and a good New Year. Many of us homeschoolers are just getting back into the swing of school and balanced routines. So hopefully that transition is going well for you. I know for our family it can be a bit of a rough transition coming off of the holidays and the break that we take around that time. Today I'm going to talk with you about how we use America's Story family style in our homeschool. But real quick, I'm going to do a shameless plug of my blog. So if you didn't know, I have a blog, chrisclark.com. I'm working at being more consistent on there. I've also been creating printables. You can download free planning sheets and things like that. So if you are into that sort of thing, you can go to the blog and there is a PDF library where you can do that. I've also started self-publishing leveled readers. I only have one up in the store right now. That's also on the blog. There's like a bookstore page. And that one's like a 4th grade reading level. But I have more in the works, so if that is something you'd be interested in, go check out the blog. Okay, adapting America's Story for multiple age groups. And this is actually a funny story. The second time I filmed this before Christmas. And when I went through the footage, I just sounded so out of breath the entire time that I decided to try to redo it. I am in my 3rd trimester, so who knows if this is going to be any better. But that's just, I always sound out of breath. So if that's going on, I'm sorry. I love to group my kids together in subjects that aren't skills based. So basically anything that's not math, reading, or writing, I love to do as a group. I think that it's easier for me. I don't have to teach 4 different history lessons or science lessons or whatever it is. And I think it really adds to our homeschool. My kids love to learn together. I love that we can all be gathered around the table together, delving into the same topics. It adds kind of like camaraderie between my kids. So for as long as that's working, that's what we're going to do. As they get older, who knows, maybe they're going to want independent subjects, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But for now, this makes the most sense for our homeschool. The course comes with the textbook, the student text, and then the teacher's guide. So this is the actual book that you're going to read. Teacher guide is different with master books than maybe some other curriculums. It's not like a script for me to read or anything. This is where you find all of the worksheets and activities and quizzes, the schedule, everything like that. So it is definitely very important. Unless you're choosing to do this course as a read aloud, you could just get this, the student text, and your children could read it together. You could read it out loud to them. They could notebook, they could journal, talk about it, however that works for your family. We choose to implement the worksheets though. This is fairly new for us, but Masterbooks also has the audiobook for level 1 out. So we bought that and have been using it, and I love it. It's great. So if your child can read, then they could read along as Angela Odell is reading, which could definitely help some kids who might struggle with reading to themselves. I usually have been reading aloud to my kids, so this frees me up a little bit. I find it very helpful. My kids will sit at the desk, my 2 older kids, and will look at the pictures. My oldest will follow along with the words. My 2nd grader isn't reading at that level yet, so she will look at the pictures, and it helps because usually when I'm reading it aloud, I'll be talking about something and then I have to flip the book and say, see, here's the picture, but they can ingest that information at the same time. So I think that's really cool. You can take it with you in the car. You can, even chapters that we've already gone through, sometimes we'll listen to as a bit of a refresher / my kids just enjoy it. So that's cool. So America's Story is scheduled for a 36-week course, 5 days a week. The lessons are supposed to be about 45 minutes, I think, 30 to 40 minutes. Somewhere in that range, and we choose to do a loop, and so we're not doing it 5 days a week. But basically we do history on Mondays and Wednesdays, we do science Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then on Fridays we do geography and art. And so we kind of condense sometimes, depending on how our week is going, multiple lessons into one day for us, but we're also not overly concerned with finishing this in exactly a year. So I just kind of use the suggested daily schedule like a checklist, and we just move from one thing to the next. But if you need to finish it in a year, or you're concerned about that, you could definitely figure out how many lessons a day you need to do to condense it. But we don't really worry about that. I'm using this with a preschooler, a kindergartner, a 2nd grader, and a 3rd grader. And the way that I handle group teaching is I teach to my oldest, so that would be my 3rd grader, and I adapt as needed for my younger kids. So my preschooler and kindergartner are just listening in. They're answering questions. They'll listen as we read aloud or as we listen to the audiobook. Sometimes I print off a coloring page for them or something to keep them busy. And I let my youngest, my preschooler, kind of float in and out. He's not really expected to stay in the room if he doesn't want to. And then they'll answer questions about what they remember or what was their favorite thing. Sometimes it's silly, like people wore funny shirts or had weird hair. Other times I'm surprised at what they got from it. So you never know. And they'll obviously, we're doing history as a cycle. They'll get this content again when they're older. So I'm not worried with how in-depth they're getting right now. My second grader will do some worksheets, especially things like the sketching activities or making a comic. She does the timeline activity. She has a Wonders of Old book and fills that out with the important dates. She does any copy work, but a lot of the questions she'll answer verbally. And then my third grader does the course pretty much as written. Occasionally I'll adapt for her, like let her answer verbally or something, depending on what we have going on that day. But she completes the worksheets usually and does the timeline and does any hands-on activities. So she does everything. If you've been here for a little bit, you know that I combine my teacher guides. So this is 2 America Story guides put onto Happy Planner discs. And this is high on the effort prep scale. It takes a lot of work up front, but it does help. It makes it a lot easier for me, at least for our process. So I think it's worth it. So basically I just combine it. So I have 2 of the same pages in consecutive order. So whatever we're working on, I just go to that page and I can pull out however many I need and pass them out. My kids have a set of discs that's like their individual subjects, but for group subjects, I find it's easier for me to pass out the pages as we need them, instead of having them already on their discs. And my kids have another set of discs, a large set with tabs for their different subjects. So when they're done, they just flip to the history section, file their page away, and save it. For our record keeping, I let my kids pick a few favorite assignments or things that have shown growth at the end of the year, and we put that in our cumulative record. So those discs are what they will flip through to pick out what they want to keep. And I don't keep a lot, like I said, but I do keep some. I plan to make a video on our record keeping, so I'll be able to share that process with you guys. I know the title of this is adapting the course, but as you can see, there's not a lot that we actually adapt. We just kind of use it as it is, which is awesome in my opinion. I need it to be easy to just tweak here and there, but not have a lot of prep work. I don't have the desire or the time, or I don't make time to do a lot of planning and prepping. So open and go programs are definitely important for us and for our homeschool. This is one of the big reasons that we choose master books, because it makes it super simple. I love the conversational style that this is written in. Angela Odell does a great job talking to the students. My kids love it. I think it makes it interesting and engaging for them. They feel like, a friend is telling them what's going on. In the past, we have used Sunlight, we have used Mystery of History, and we briefly used Story of the World. So Story of the World, we figured out really quickly, was not for us. Mystery of History was a better fit, but it was a little dry, and I felt like I was scrambling a lot. There was a lot to pull together, and I struggled to do the activities and really make it everything it could be. It just didn't fit for us. I really needed something that didn't take any prep work on my part, and so this fits really good. This is also more straightforward than Sunlight, and there were some other things we were unhappy with, some of the book selections and things. And so anyways, so far this program has fit our family the best. It's funny because I have these grand, ideas and hopes of things I would love to do in our homeschool and implement, but truth be told, if it is not super easy and straightforward and simple, I don't do them. That's just the reality of me and my personality and our homeschool, how it really is day to day. I'm not pulling together these amazing unit studies or doing these things. And if you can do that, that is awesome. And I applaud you, and I am somewhat jealous, but that's just not the reality of my homeschool. So I think it is really important to find tools that work for the homeschool that you actually have. what you actually will do, that is what you should pull together. And so for us, this is that. And it's important to remember that one size does not fit all. So what I'm doing might not work for your family. What you're doing might not work for my family, and that's totally okay. Your homeschool doesn't have to look like anyone else's. And that's one of the beautiful things about homeschooling, really, is that we each get to make it our own and make it work for us. So as far as scheduling goes, I told you kind of like our weekly loop, but like our daily schedule, I find for us, it helps to start with our group subjects. These are generally subjects that my kids are more excited about. They're happy to get started on. Some people might like to start with the hardest subject and get them out of the way, but I find for us, it's a easy transition into the day from our morning. We start learning, we're enjoying it, and it kind of sets the ball rolling and gets us in the right headspace to tackle our other subjects. And then after we do our group work for the day, we'll transition into individual. So for the next video, I am planning to do a flip through of cursive. We're using it with 2 kids now. I started with just my 3rd grader, and I bought it for my 2nd grader, but plan to use it next year. But after she saw her sister doing it, she was thoroughly bummed that she was not doing it currently. So we went ahead and jumped in, and it's going great. She's loving it. So I'll give you guys a quick flip through of that. Yeah, and then also a record keeping video of how we use the cumulative record. And I kind of record as we go so that I don't have a lot to do at the end of the year. So I'll share that process with you guys. Yeah, I plan to hopefully have a couple more videos out before the baby comes, and then I'll probably take a little bit of a break. Then I'll be back. So anyways, that's just kind of what's in the pipeline. So until next time, happy schooling.